Hey everybody, this is Mara Hoover, and I'm here with The Mara Show, founder of FemPower You and Financial Power You. Excited to have some incredible guests here with me today. On The Mara Show, we broadcast live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, and we bring guests including people that are experts in the area of relationships, business, and personal development. And today I have an awesome duo here with me today, and their names are Nick and Donna, or Kisma. And so excited to be hanging out with them. They are the creators of the Source Movement. So I'm going to read their bio, and then we'll get them introduced. Kisma, Orbovich, and Nick Hansinger are co-founders of Source Movement Yoga. They train yoga teachers and inspired students to teach and live fully with confidence, connection, and love. In addition to yoga teachers, Nick and Kisma coach entrepreneurs and businesses on mindset and strategies, so they can purposefully create inner alignment and therefore external excellence. The culture of Source Movement is based on the isms: radical authenticity, ruthless honesty, and courageous vulnerability. Welcome to the show, Nick and Kisma. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Mara.
Super excited to be here.
We are thrilled to be hanging out with you, and I know you have tons of valuable content to share with us. So the first thing that I wanted to ask is Source Movement. What exactly does that mean, and what is it?
Good question.
Great question, yeah.
I'll let Nick take this one.
Oh, so Source Movement is started really as an idea for a new wave of yoga, right? What we're seeing a lot of is teachers who are just not really teaching from an empowered place, who are teaching from kind of a fearful place, and just not really connecting with people in the way that inspires human transformation, which is really what yoga is about anyway. So the idea is like we want to create a movement where people can really reconnect with themselves in a powerful way, step into their authenticity so that they can share that. Like their greatest gift to share with people is really just their presence, right? And we felt like, you know, coming from a yoga background and a musician background, those were some of the things that were coming up for us, and we're just like, well, let's make a movement out of it. So we called it Source Movement.
Yeah, totally. And I'll just add in there, it was we had a yoga studio in Michigan for about 5 years, and one of the things I found overriding everything else is that people really wanted to connect to their yoga teachers. They were less concerned, although they wanted a really great physical practice. I mean, people who come to yoga love the physicality of it. It feels really good. But over time, I just realized it was the relationship piece, it was the connection piece, it was the ability to transform their lives that made a huge difference and kept people coming back and really loving the studio.
Yeah. So with the intention of starting this within the yoga community, what we found really quickly is that all of this stuff is so incredibly applicable to entrepreneurism. And people in that realm, you know, really trying to come into their own, trying to figure out like, who am I? Like, what is my message? What is it that I'm so gifted at that I have to share? So that's when we started to branch out and do some business coaching and personal coaching as well. So Source Movement encompasses all that, and Source Movement Yoga is really our yoga brands, the inspired teacher training, and our inspired tribe builder stuff that we do.
Yeah.
I don't know, is that clear enough? Clear as mud, right?
Well, I mean, yes. It's a big thing to sort of bite off and chew in a 30 or 45-minute interview.
Yeah.
But what it seems to me, to recap, is it's really about presence and working with people so that they can connect, whether they're a yoga teacher, an entrepreneur, a business owner, whoever, that they can really connect with who they are at the core, and they can show up for other people. Is that a good summary?
You got it.
You nailed it. Because that's going to be, whether it's a yoga teacher, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a surgeon, whether it's a stay-at-home mom really managing and loving her family, it's really who we are that allows us to excel, or often prevents us from doing so. So when people get that internal alignment and that inner stance, like, it's awesome. And everything starts to flow. It doesn't mean that it's always easy, but the ability to just really lead our lives with the ability to stand strong and be connected to ourselves and other people is amazing. Got it.
Very cool. So you guys consult not only with yoga teachers, as I said, but business owners. You mentioned lawyers, surgeons. So you're really consulting on a very high level. So what are some of the core principles that you found that you actually instruct and teach yoga teachers, but as well as taking from yoga and bringing over to the business side.
Totally.
What are some of those different principles that you teach with Source Movement?
Yeah, I know Nick is going to want to dive into this too. I will just start by saying the yoga principles that we use are based on a philosophy called Vedanta, which is V as in Victor, E-D-A-N-T-A. And they're thousands of years old. So these principles are time-tested more than any other principles that I know. And they work across the board. That's what yoga really was about in the day, was how people could manage their lives and receive teachings and really live a fulfilling life. So these very principles, which I'll let Nick talk about a little bit, serve everybody, whether, again, it's a high-level consulting position that we do, or if we're working with teachers or studios or just ourselves. Hello, we do this study this all the time.
Yeah, they all fall under the umbrella of authentic leadership, right? Leading from your authentic being and your authentic presence. And the first principle of that is self-management, right? What we see a lot of is like people want more strategies to manage their time. They want more strategies to manage their stress. And the typical way, the old way that's been taught is to manage everything, to make it okay, you know, have everything in its right place and everything's okay, and then all of a sudden it's okay for me to let go of some of my stress. Yeah. And that's one way to do it. But the other way that is a little bit more effective is to deal with the individual and how we manage ourselves. So what is our basis for making our choices in life? How grounded can those choices be? And it really comes down to, you know, the two main equipments that are at play there is the human mind, which a lot of people will equate with the heart or, you know, the emotional side of things. We call it the mind. And then the human intellect, which is the other side of that. That's the parent, you know, the reason, judgment, more linear type of thinking. So with those two equipments, it's like a lot of people pit them against one another, the mind versus the intellect, or the battle that happens there. But ultimately, it's really about the two and having a great relationship with the two. So if you think of your mind and that emotional component, right, that emotional context as being a child, like a little 5-year-old, is a pretty accurate analogy. Like it can go any which way, any which direction, and it wants what it wants, and if it gets it, it's happy, and if it doesn't, it's, you know, it's throwing a tantrum, which I think a lot of us can relate to. And then there's the parent, right, who's taking governing control, providing a clear direction and a container for that to express itself fully. So it's not about one of those being better than the other. It's about really fully utilizing both of those equipments in a really powerful way. Because the human emotion that's our gateway to connection with one another and relationship. And without that, it's like a hollow, empty existence. But if it's not directed, it's extremely easy to destroy ourselves, and this is the level of stress and anxiety that we see in all the ways that affects people physically, mentally, and emotionally. This is all the vast array of addictions that we see in the world. It's all, you know, in the mind that is not being governed in the best possible way. So that's really how we look at self-management.
So basically, someone would need to it's not stopping the kid or the child from running and being crazy and getting what they want. It's creating a container in which that can work alongside our intellect so that it doesn't feel like we're having this internal fight.
Exactly. Yeah. Or it could be a guide.
Okay.
If we thought of ourselves as having a guide, someone that was wise, that led the way, so that when those periods of high emotion come into play, you know, it's like Nick and I were just talking yesterday how some people are real strong feelers and some people are strong thinkers, but if you only have that, you're going to feel yourself in a circle or think yourself in a circle. So how do you combine those two to come together so ultimately you live this very joyous and peaceful life? And when they work like that, when there's a synergy, it is amazing and it's beautiful and you're in the flow. That's when the flow happens, when the mind and the intellect are really just hand in hand. And because you can't live without, who wants to live without emotions? Like no one wants to not feel. Or if they think they want to not feel, then there's another conversation that has to be had, right? But feeling is the golden nugget of being a human being. However, those feelings, if out of control or not guided or nurtured, can lead us off into a place of no return. It can allow mismanagement in the home, in business, in relationships. It can cause a great deal of anxiety and loss of focus, immense loss of focus. So the intellect is like that loving, nurturing parent. Okay, where are we? Where do we need to go? How do we manage this? It's awesome. When it falls into place, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, so ultimately how we teach that really is about maintaining a state of objective awareness, to see both of the equipments at play and how they work together so that we can make adjustments and have fun with it, right? Just like enjoy the ride, because otherwise it gets to be so stressful. We get caught up in the emotional framework and it's every which way, or we get caught up linear thinking, trying to figure it out and think it all through, and none of it is that effective. It's about objective awareness, you know.
The yogis will know the term. There's a term called sakshi, which is a witness. So it's sort of like from the balcony watching life go. It's like watching a movie. You know, we can watch like crazy stuff in a movie and be highly entertained, but when something starts to happen in our lives, even at a small level, it's like a lot of anxiety are blowing up. So how do we just like watch that and go, this is really fascinating. This is really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is fascinating to say the least.
Oh, man. Yep. Watching the movie of our own lives.
Right.
Yeah,
totally.
Just step back and watch it and actually enjoy it.
Actually enjoy it.
Like we watch it, we enjoy the drama on the movie. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed Breaking Bad. As dysfunctional as it was, but like Donna said, even those little bits of drama in our life, you know, they'll send us spinning. So it's like it's really about seeing it from a perspective that we can actually really enjoy it. So having a business doesn't, have to be this hugely stressful and traumatic experience. It can be a really fun ride, and that's not to say it's without struggle and without those emotions, of stress or strain that we experience. But it's about being outside of that so that we can just see it for what it is and keep along our journey, because that's where a lot of people would quit.
Yeah. So if we're talking to business owners, entrepreneurs that are watching right now, and they're hearing stress and they're like, oh yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I get caught up in the stress in my business. What is a tip? I mean, I know that this is a lifelong practice, just as yoga is, to train your mind to bring that objective approach. But what is one thing that would be a practice that they could start to do so that when they feel that stress or anxiety coming up around business or personal life or whatever, what can they do to maybe sort of snap themselves out of it and say, hey, I need to be aware right now that this is happening?
Well, we have a couple tips, but one is an exercise that is phenomenal. If we just go through the heat off, but not judge. This is where we get caught up. Like we start judging ourselves, and then it's a whole other spiral downward. But just to notice what happened, because organically, when there was a piece that didn't go well in that day, we'll know. We'll get a little internal rise. Like if you just look at a monitor, it'll be like, oh, yeah, there it goes. If we start to do that every day and notice and have the awareness, because that's going to be the word that we always come back to is awareness, after a week or two, when we're in real time and these things come up, we'll catch ourselves and we'll be like, it didn't go so well when I reacted like this. It didn't work when I handled it like that. So what can I do differently? So ultimately, awareness is the key. Presence, we always hear this word being present, but I just like awareness because it just brings all the sensory perceptions into play and noticing what's going on here and now. And then being able to observe that daily without judgment is a real gift, to just notice who we are and how we're acting and where we want to go.
So I can give you a really great example of that. Just a recent one for me was where I wake up in the morning, and I really strive to wake up early because there's like those golden hours between, they're truly between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., but I don't get that crazy. I'd love to be up by 5:15. And that's what I've been striving for, like 5:15. Boy, if I can get out of bed, like that'd be amazing. And I just, every morning or at the end of every day, I'm going through my checklist. Okay, well, I got up to bed at this time, and it was still okay. And I do my studying and reflection and things like that. One morning, I woke up and I just noticed the first thought in my head was judging. Like I just judged the heck out of myself. Like it's 6:30 now. Get up. What's wrong with? It was really a kind of a shocking voice in my head. And I was like, okay, like I got it. And then I got up and did my thing. And then I was reflecting later on. I was like, you know what? That was the first thought in my head. Like that's not going to work for the day. So like, what am I going to do? And then it just came to me. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to use an alarm clock anymore. And so I stopped using an alarm clock. And I'm up at 5:15.
Wow.
Like magic. So it kind of like took that piece out of it and let me stay objective to exactly what was happening. So I caught myself in the act, and I didn't set the rest of my day in that tone. I didn't let that affect the rest of my day, because I think a lot of us know, with entrepreneurs especially, it's like that one thing can go wrong in our day, and it just throws everything else off.
Right.
And so any time that we can create that kind of awareness, and then when we reflect on it later, just say, oh, what could I have done?
Right.
And there it is. Like, okay, well, I'm just going to try turning my alarm clock off for a week and see what happens. And, it works great.
And it's, speaking of early mornings, this is another killer. We work with people on this all the time. Whatever we do first thing in the morning is so vital for the rest of the day. That's why we talk about getting up early, having something to either meditate, study, reflect on, just time for you. Because the moment that we hand our day over to someone else, it's done. And that's either through TV, email, texting, whatever. There's a dozen ways these days where we take on everybody else's BS first thing. Facebook. And then guess what happens?
Facebook. Yeah.
I love Facebook. I love you, but really, like, don't go there first thing. So you've got to have that space where it's like, this is my day. This is mine. And then set that inner stance of really strength and focus and awareness, acute awareness, and the rest of the day is magical. But the moment we give that up, we've lost control of our day to everybody else and anything else.
Yeah, those are the biggest things. And just a tip for that: if it's not like a half-hour exercise, this is 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the day. If it's taking longer than that, you're getting entangled with probably some sort of judgment or trying to think it through and fix it. It should happen, and just go, I got up at X amount of time, X time, and then I went and I did this. I went and worked out. I reflected on this and this. And it's like, just quick, right through. Yeah. And then you're good.
I fall asleep sometimes. By the time I get to my lunchtime, I'm asleep. If I do the exercise before bed.
Yeah, it's awesome. If you have trouble sleeping, do this exercise in bed, and you'll go right to sleep.
You'll go right to sleep. That's great. Well, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs, and you guys know I work in two specific areas, with women and especially around money. And those are the two places that I see that we are so judgmental of ourselves. So this conversation about non-judgment and really bringing awareness to what's going on in our day and our lives without that judgment is such a huge practice. So is there anything else that you can say about how to sort of move away from judging yourself? Because I think as business owners, as women, or especially around the concept of money, there's a lot of that goes on.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's a lot in that, and so many games that we play with ourselves, So my biggest advice that I've given time and time again, because yoga teachers are notorious for this too. They're so afraid of what everybody's going to think of them in their class on some level. Are they going to like my class? Are they going to like me? And it's like, it's either external about what they're going to think, or it's internal of judging ourselves. And the biggest thing that I can recommend for people is don't take yourself too seriously. It's like, it's not that we make a joke or a mockery of ourselves. It's more that it's like we're in our human experience. All of us are dealing with this stuff. There's not a human being out there who's not judging themselves in some way, labeling and comparing. There might be a couple. I mean, but they're very few and far between. So the more awareness that we can have of that voice, and an acute awareness, not just the generalization of I'm judging myself. How are you judging yourself? Exactly how are you judging yourself? What does that voice sound like? Because I'll bet that doesn't sound like the voice of your full potential or your best self. Like, there's a different tone to that. So you get really in tune. It's not about pushing it away and saying no or anything like that. It's about inviting that voice in and saying, hey, like, I want to get to know you a little bit better. Like, where is this part of me that's doing all this judging? Like, I want to know that voice. And the more that you can do that and be more and more specific, the more acute awareness you have, so that then you have the opportunity of, like, oh, you know, there I go, like, there it goes again. I'm start judging myself right now, and let's see where that goes. You know, so you have the opportunity then to make a really clear choice.
And I would add in, for women specifically, what I found as I work with many women, don't fear the success. I think that there's something in the field where many of us fear, what happens if I actually do make the money? What happens if I'm actually successful? Where here's what's up. We have these gifts, and it is really up to us to share them, and we need to charge for it, because money is energy, and if it's out of integrity, things don't go well. So I just really want to encourage women, like, the world needs you, the planet needs you, the universe needs you, your energy is phenomenal, and it's time to step in. Don't fear it. Be excited. Like, let the fear transform to just sheer excitement over the potential of what you can do for people and for the world. And then it's a totally different conversation, and it really is exciting. Yes, sometimes it's scary, but just, like, there's so much that's about to shift right now. I really believe this for women. So it is it's up to us to let go of that fear and just rise. And when Nick talks about something like the full potential self, we work with that a lot. Just stop and think of the highest version of you, you know, and when we can tap into what are my best qualities, who do I really want to be, we see those qualities because we have them. So since we see them, we can make that choice to step in and really do our best to move forward with those qualities and be the authentic leader that all of us can really be on whatever level, plane, realm that is. But definitely it makes the world a better place.
Absolutely. Amen. We've gotten through, from what I can count, one yoga principle so far, which is self-management. It was a deep conversation. Is there? We've already been chatting for, gosh, 20-something minutes, and so we do want to start moving towards wrapping up. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the Mara Show. I'm Mara Hoover, founder and creator of Financial Power You and Fempower You, and on the Mara Show we broadcast live 11 a.m. Pacific time. And it's every Wednesday. We bring guests in the area of personal development, business, and relationships. And the cool thing is that all of our guests give away something for free. So head over to themarashow.com if you're just joining us, or if you're watching this as an archive. And in just a little bit, Nick and Donna are going to be talking about their free gift. But right now, let's jump back into some of those other yoga principles that we can apply. And we might not be able to have a deep conversation about them, but at least it'll let everybody kind of get the idea of what areas you really work and specialize in, so they'll know if you guys would be a great fit for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that first one is so fundamental, so
it is.
It's good that, you know, to spend the time on it. The second principle around it is personal alignment. And that's again coming back to really getting to know who we are. So if you look at the intellect, there's actually two components. One that looks out to the world, that's called the gross intellect. It's seeing everything outside of ourselves, and it gives us the opportunity to judge and discern, right? Not judge, but
assess.
You know, like assess. And discern and differentiate. And then there's the internal intellect, which is just really that same lens turned inward, right? So that we really get to know ourselves and get to know, like, that's the part where we really want to look inside and see, hey, what is it that really lights me up? What are those things? What do I value the most in the world? Like, I've seen a million different values exercised, and they're all worth doing, because anytime that we can get more and more clarity on what's most important to us, then we can create the personal alignment. Because without that, we've got excellent self-management, but we can just go in whatever direction that we go, and we're fine with that, and that's fine. But it's not always the most effective, the most directed, and it doesn't always get us the results that we really want. So being really personally aligned, not only this is where we see in corporations, some of the corporate work that I've done, where people get a lot of stress and burnout because they're either in jobs or they're in a mindset in their job that's absolutely draining all of their energy because they're not connected to what's most important in their world, what's most important in their inner world. And so creating that strong sense of personal alignment helps them to have more energy and enthusiasm and inspiration for what they're doing, but also to direct that in a really positive way.
Yeah,
so
that's cool. And I'll throw another principle in, don't be attached. Attachment is everywhere. It's one of the greatest forms of suffering. Some of us are severely attached to our kids, our partners, our homes, our animals. It's a tricky subject, but notice when, for instance, just with our children, when we think of them as, that's my daughter. Well, wait a minute, she's her own person, right? Or this is my job, or this is my company. How many people support you in running the company? Right, so attachment can really lead to some stress and anxiety and a lot of sorrow. So again, it's like honoring all of our relationships, everything we do, knowing that we're not alone and that we are very much interconnected. Like I think once people start to realize how connected we are, there's a greater sense of gratitude and honoring one another, and so we're not severely attached or holding on. Some people are very attached to their principles or their processes or their way of doing. So it's a disconnect. So open your arms, really receive and try and see everybody as having this thread connected to you, but you don't own them.
Right.
And what she's really talking about is our third principle of mastering action.
Yeah.
So in that principle, we take a deep dive into, well, what are the things that are draining your energy? Like in which ways are you draining your energy? Is it, worry of the past or anxiety of the future? Are you getting just too worked up in the moment? What's going on there? So where's your energy going for sure? How are you directing yourself? And that has a lot to do with attachment. Like that's understanding very objectively what is our role in the situation in our relationship with others. So, because anything that we're doing in the world is obviously impacting others, and whether we like it or not, or whether we believe it or not, in one way, shape, or form, we're always impacting others. So, all of those pieces kind of come into play so that we can, and then setting a really clear goal, and then, letting ourselves just reverse engineer the goal so you can measure results in the world. And that gives us a great opportunity. What I found that helps us to do is to really take the judgment out of where we think we're supposed to be. Like you set the goal and it's great. Like, okay, here's the plan, and now I can just assess where I am along the way. Am I making it? Am I not making it? Do I need to make some adjustments? It's like, great. Okay, now I can make an objective choice around it and move forward. So some of those external structures and frameworks, we deal a lot with the internal work, but some of these external structures and frameworks can be extremely helpful. And we're here. You got to do something in the world, so let's have some fun doing it, and but let's be clear about what it is that we're setting out to accomplish.
Because think of it freedom. If we set a goal or a launch or a strategy, whatever, if we are severely attached to it all going a certain way and it doesn't, but if we're not severely attached and it doesn't go a certain way, it's like, all right, shake it off and let's reboot everyone and figure it out. And there's so much more freedom and synergy and flow. Again, you're in the flow. That's really the sweet spot where things begin to happen because we see this, broader picture and scope, and we're able to maneuver around that rather than just being attached to one way.
Right.
Because I guarantee most of us might set out to do something and have this idea of what it's going to look like. It will not look anything like that, but it will still be marvelous and amazing.
When's the last time anything went according to plan for you?
I know.
Yeah, that's us too.
I guess I could say what plan, because people ask me with FemPowerU, it's like, so what exactly is this company? And I said, you know what, we're building the plane while we're flying it. We're really building it as we go along, because that's part of the adventure, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, cool. And you're aligned with your core mission there of women, finance, and empowerment in that way. And it's like, okay, it doesn't need to be more complicated than that. That's what I found is people try to build everything first, and it gets so confusing, and then it turns out totally different anyway.
Yeah.
So, why don't we just get clear in the simple things, and just then have some fun building it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Well, we're wrapping up, but I did want to find out what is coming up for you two. I know you've got some really exciting programs and things that you're putting together, so tell us a little bit about what's going on in the land of Nick and Kisma.
Yeah, sure. Well, in the yoga world, we're launching, or we're going to have our first, we call it Inspired Teacher Training, and that begins in about a month, and we'll be online training. Then we'll be up North Michigan, so it's a beautiful setting. We've got about 14 amazing people. We wanted to keep it small. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, so excited that's sold out.
That's sold out. And then we also have another program for yoga teachers, which is, we call it the Shiva Shakti effect, right? It's basically the way they can build their tribe through inspiration. It's an awesome program, online, offline. Love that. And then we're so excited to be launching a business program, which is an 8-week course. Yeah. It's intentional and exceptional results. So our goal is to help the entrepreneurs, whether they are at home business or brick and mortar, get results in 8 weeks. So in order to do that, there's got to be strategies, but there has to be mindset. So we're coupling these two together. I'm so excited. Like, it's really going to be a great course. Really fun.
Yeah. So that's our biggest thing right now is we just realized, how much information we've accumulated about this, and really how many entrepreneurs are out there just struggling to get their start, to kind of get their footing and get just a little bit of traction, and just so many programs out there that don't offer the kind of nuts and bolts stuff that we want to help people with, and don't offer some of the hand-holding that we're willing to do. So we love those relationships with our clients, and so this program in particular is really about that. Is like, let's set you up with your mindset and get really clear in those pieces first, so that all the rest can be a lot more fun and a lot less stress. Like, you don't have to fight the battle. Because
you know what it's
like. Of that.
We start something, we're like, oh, this is a great idea, and then it gets hard, and we're like, oh, that looks like a great idea. Maybe I'll do that one.
That one looks easier.
Yeah, right.
It's hard. No, this one's shinier. I'm going to go do that, and then it's all a mess. So no, we're going to pick an idea, drive the business, be with you, help you to just like thrive in it as a person, and to get your business rolling. So for those people who've been like on that hamster wheel, like it's almost there, like it's time to break through. It's really time to make some money and figure out how to do that. So we're so excited.
We're really excited, And there's the link that you've put up there. That'll take people, and there's opportunity for a consult, because we want to make sure that we've got the right people in the program.
Yeah, it's our free gift. Free coaching
we want to make sure that we can really help everybody, and we'll definitely get value out of it through the consultation of just getting a lot of clarity and a lot of direction. So whether they decide to move forward with us or not, the consult's there for their gift, and then it allows us the opportunity to get to know one another a little bit, to see it, because we want to know everybody that's coming into our program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us here at the Mara Show, or you're watching this as an archive, you can head over to themarashow.com, click the button for archives, and there'll be a link where you can go and actually register for that free consult that Nick and Kisma are offering, which is an awesome offer. It's their time, and spending time with either one or both of them, if you have that privilege, is definitely life-changing. So if this is resonating with you, be sure to navigate over to themarashow.com right now, check out the button under the archive video, and go ahead and get signed up for that consult. There's nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so looking forward to talking.
Yeah, and if you're a yoga teacher and you sign up for the consult, we have an extra gift for you too. So we'll give that to you when we talk to you. It's some cool playlists for their classes, and cool. Done for you playlists. Awesome music.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not a yoga teacher, the playlists are really fun anyway. You can have them.
I think I want those. I'm sitting wait a minute.
For sure.
Yeah, they're
awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. And as we wrap up, is there any last-minute thoughts or quotes or anything that you would like to share with our audience before we wrap up this episode of the Mara Show?
The isms say it all.
Yeah.
The isms
are it. Yeah, ruthless honesty is like just to be, not in a negative way, but to really hold that stance to be honest with yourself and honest with the world, to stay in integrity. Radical authenticity is just about, let's be ourselves. Like, that's enough. And it is really and truly, that presence is the greatest gift that we have to share. And then certainly courageous vulnerability, to be willing to be seen as that, as we are. That's the most beautiful thing. So the isms are there.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Nick and
Thanks,
Kisma,
Mara.
for joining us here on the Mara Show. And for those of you that are watching this archive, head over to themarashow.com right now. You can subscribe so that you get updates on all of our guests that are coming up, as well as check out all of our archives and access all of the free offers from each and every guest that we have had. So thanks again, Nick and Kisma, and have a wonderful day. We'll let you wave to the audience.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
I love you, Mara.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.